Greetings one and all. Thanks for coming along and watching these little shows that I'm doing on Gurdjieff. On my last one, I dropped all the bookmarks out of my book that I was going to read from, but I've gathered a few of them back together and wanted to continue with them. So I wanted to start with this quote from In Search of the Miraculous. So this is Ouspensky. People living on the earth can belong to very different levels, although in appearance they look exactly the same. And don't you find that with people? You notice that some people are on one level and other people are at a different level, and you're at a certain level. And it's particular in life that everyone's unique, yet we're all the same, but we're not the same at the same time. I remember growing up as a child thinking that some people were, especially adults, considerably stupid. I'm not saying that I was some supreme being that understood life and the universe from a child, but I could see through a lot of the adults that were trying to tell me what to do. But now, as an older person, as an adult with a bit of a childlike mind, I can see how them people were. A lot of the people, I realized that when my peers were actually, bless them, quite stupid, but they were at a different level. But maybe they had higher levels than I have now in other things that I don't know about. I didn't know everything about everyone. There are people that have no interest in anything that we're talking about whatsoever. So they're at a different level. Are they at a lower level? Well, who are we to judge? Are we at a higher level because we do this kind of work? Again, I don't know. Who are we to judge? But I'd like to think we are helping the evolvement of the human race. And that's why we're working on ourselves, so that we can help with the development of humanity as we go on, as humanity goes forward into whatever's coming. I've said before, I think that we're at a very pivotal point. I believe Gurdjieff and Rudolf Steiner were warning us of this back then, over 100 years ago. They were warning us that this was going to happen, this change. It feels like a bit of an end times, but an end times could be the development into something better if humanity wants to evolve upwards, or does it want to stay low down and not develop at all? And our evolvement helps the rest of the planet evolve, and the whole universe is evolving and moving along. Angels become archangels, we can become angels, and so on forth. Animals go on to their next level. It's all different levels that we're trying to go up. It's all a hierarchy, and we're trying to work on ourselves so that we're going upwards, not downwards. No downwards. And Ouspensky reminds us, being or existence may be of very different levels and categories. The being of two people can differ from one another more than the being of a mineral and of an animal. A man may possess great knowledge, be, for an example, an able scientist, make discoveries, advance science, and at the same time he may be, and has the right to be, a petty, egoistic, cavilling, mean, envious, vain, naive, and absent-minded man or woman. So people are at different levels. You can meet people that are very emotional, but maybe they don't have a high intellectual level. We're trying to do this work so that we can balance out all our levels, all our centers, so that we are level. We want to be a level person, not a all over the place person, which brings me now to a book I haven't looked at for a long time, which is A Further Record of Meetings, which is Ouspensky's talks. So this is a question and answer session. And the question is, on what does the difference in level among ordinary people depend? And Ouspensky replies, on reliability. Unreliable people cannot get anywhere, which I do find quite true. One has to be reliable in doing spiritual, soulful work. If you follow in the esoteric path, you need to be reliable in yourself in doing it, which can be quite difficult because we have doubts come in. We have people that try to put us off it. We have things that happen that take us back to our old ways, or we want to be changing our old ways because we want to go forward in a more fruitful, in an esoteric way. We're trying to, like I was saying, go up, not down. So reliability is a very important part of all this. So the questioner asks, how does one develop one's being? And Ouspensky says, all that you've heard about the possibility of development refers to being, first of all, awakening, since the chief feature of our being is that we are asleep. By trying to awake, we change our being. Then there are many other things: creating unity, not expressing negative emotions, observation, study of negative emotions, trying not to identify, trying to avoid useless talk. All this is work on being. Certainly you acquire certain knowledge in that way, but it is put separately if it is simply intellectual knowledge. Being is power, power to do, and power to do is power to be different. And we are being different by doing this kind of work, you know, from your, you know, the everyday people. Hopefully you are meeting other people that are in the work, and so that you're not alone in doing this. But we do find that other people find it strange. People that aren't interested in this kind of work find it strange what you're doing. He talks a lot about how we have to change ourselves. Gurdjieff used to talk about mechanical talking. You know, we just talk shit, really. When we're with people that aren't awake, we just get caught up in their mechanical ways, start doing mechanical talking instead of thinking about what we're talking about, feeling what we're talking about, and making sure that we're talking some kind of sense. Like when I make these little shows, I have to, you know, I do my research, but I have to make sure that I don't start to waffle, which is begins to be mechanical talking. We want to try and be concise in what we're thinking, feeling, and saying. And also that goes with, you know, our bodily functions and moving about and our everyday way of being. We want to be aware and conscious of what we are doing, because that gives us a new level of being. When you're just being mechanical, your level of being is very low. But being awake, you're on going to a higher level of being when you're aware of what you're doing. And it's quite interesting to watch yourselves. I remember when I started doing this work and realized how much I went off doing mechanical talking with people in my everyday life, you know, like my work colleagues, or, you know, on the bus with people. It's always nice to chat to people, but not to get caught up in just spurting rubbish, really, or thinking we, you know, we can change the world. So it is nice to talk to people to see what their intentions are and how we could make the world a better place, whether they're in the work or not. You know, it's very good to communicate with the world and people, just to see where other people are. And you can be quite surprised that some people do have high levels of being in other areas that maybe might not be so prominent in their everyday way of being. I feel like I'm waffling there, but anyway. But being is power, power to do, and power to do is power to be different is very important. We're creating that higher vibration in us, which is quite powerful if we're using it rightly. If we're using it wrongly, it can, Gurdjieff calls it, you crystallize wrongly, because we're trying to crystallize ourselves into beautiful beings. But Gurdjieff says about this kind of thing, I wanted to do some I wanted to do some in search of the miraculous, continue with that with Ouspensky. Our ordinary conception of materiality, only with difficulty, embraces the materiality of worlds 96 and 48. And he's talking about the hydrogen graphs that he used to do. The matter of world 24 is much too rarefied to be regarded as matter from the scientific point of view of our physics and chemistry. Such matter is practically hypothetical. The still finer matter of world 12 has, for ordinary investigation, no characteristics of materiality at all. All the matters interpenetrate one another. And so the divine source is living his endlessness, is living up there in the sun absolute with the least laws, because he's perfect. And each world that comes further and further away from the divine, more and more laws and levels are put onto it. And we're quite far away. I think we're near the bottom on this planet. We're trying to develop ourselves so that we can work in lesser laws, the laws that are here to distort and destruct and are not part of the harmonious maintenance of the universe. We're trying to understand the laws. Like I was saying in my last video, we need to understand how the laws of the universe work, because then we can learn how they work with us, so that we can go ahead and do the divine's work, be part of it all. That's part of the caught up in, is that the right word? We're caught up in the material world, which is lesser laws. We want to be in the doing the right work with the divine, and then we're not so caught up in the laws that are being put onto this world. If we're doing the work, I'm kind of waffling again now, after saying don't waffle. Maybe I should just read Ouspensky. Matter is the same, but materiality is different. And different degrees of materiality depend directly upon the qualities and properties of the energy manifested at a given point. The constant is taken as material, as matter, and changes in the state of the constant or of matter are called manifestations of force or energy. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have these changes so that we manifest higher quality, higher levels of being, so that we can work with the divine. All these changes can be regarded as the result of vibrations or unadulterary motions which begin in the center, that is, in the absolute, and go in all directions, crossing one another, colliding and merging together until they stop altogether at the end of the ray of creation. And I should have got some charts up of the ray of creation, but I did want to say, I had a lot of people saying to me about the symbol of the cross. What does it mean? What's it symbolizing? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? The cross is telling us that the divine is in all directions. The divine is going everywhere. So the cross is an important symbol. It's not just about the resurrection of the Christ. It's not just some of the magical meanings that are put to it from symbolism. Its original meaning was the divine, so it's in all directions. It's omnipresent. So I want to go from Ouspensky. Oh, one more Ouspensky. One man is immortal, another is not. A third tries to become immortal. A fourth considers himself immortal and is therefore simply a lump of flesh. You see, everybody's at a different level. You're one of them people. I'm one of them people that he's just described. Where are you? And are you developing yourself? Also, this work is a continuing process. You suddenly have a ta-da moment that helps you with your development, but then you start continuing again or going to the next level, moving on up. So we've got some all and everything from Gurdjieff. The perfection of a being depends on the quality and quantity of his inner experiencings. Again, coming back to levels, are you experiencing life, or are you just sitting your way through it? Hopefully you're not sitting your way through it. You're actually living a life and feeling it and being a part of it. Live for today, live for, there's always tomorrow as well, but that's, you've got to live in the moment, in the now. And Gurdjieff reminds us, degrees of individuality, the gradations of reason, the totality of self, awareness of all separate, large or small cosmic concentrations, their degree of justification of the sense and aim of their existence. That's what we're trying to work out, the degree of our justification for living. It is all part of doing this work. You know, are you worthy? Of course you are. You wouldn't be watching these shows and reading Gurdjieff. You wasn't. This sacred determinator of pure reason is nothing else than a kind of measure, i.e. a line divided into equal parts. One end of this line is marked as the total absence of any reason, its absolute firm calm. And at the other end, there is indicated absolute reason, i.e. the reason of our incomparable creator endlessness. So this is all part of the levels. There's those down below that, you know, aren't doing anything, have no reason, have no understanding of how to be alive or to live. You start working on yourself, you go up them levels till you become one with his endlessness. In every free brain being, there can be crystallized data for free, independent kinds of being mentation, the totality of the engendered results of which expresses the gradation of his reason. Now, all these gradations talked about in Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson. And Beelzebub, at the end, it's all very important what happens. He explains how we can become enlightened in a way. And Gurdjieff says, this is Beelzebub, had attained the reason of the sacred pod kulad, the last gradation before the reason of the sacred anklad, which is the highest which in general any being can attain, being the third in degree from the absolute reason of his endlessness himself. The degree of reason of the sacred Degindad, wanting 3 degrees to the reason of the sacred Aklad. See, all these gradations, these levels, taking us higher and higher and closer to the divine endlessness. And if you want to understand how Beelzebub did that, and what all these different gradations are, you need to read Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson, all and everything. As the title says, it has all and everything in it. We're working towards them higher levels of gradation. And I'm going to finish with something that Raj said, which is something that I relate to very much. And Raj said, I thank God every day of my life that I met Gurdjieff. And aren't we lucky to still have Gurdjieff here to teach us? So till next time, thank you. And may your Gurdjieffian studies continue. Stay in the work, peoples.